our distinguished guests, the heartbeat of our nation being the farmers. I welcome you all to the NAMPO 2026 PGP Strategic Dialogue. We are here today under one singular theme, and that is how to transition our farmers from potential to profit. We're not here to discuss problems as we know them. However, to dismantle the barriers preventing our farmers from upscaling. The objective here today, Mr. Honorable Minister, is hopefully that we leave here with concrete, actionable commitments that we can measure and review yearly. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. I am Tobani Ndonga. I'm a board member of Grain SA, as well as vice chair for PGP. Allow me to introduce our panelists. On my left-hand side, I have the Honorable John Steenhuisen, our Minister to Agriculture.
Thank you.
I've got Mr. Jeremiah Matebula, our Vice Chair to Grain SA, as well as Chair to PGP. We have Gep here, I hope I pronounced it right. He has given me permission to, yeah, he's given me permission to refer to him as GP, so I'll go with that. Thank you so much. We've got our local MEC of Agriculture from the Free State, Ms. Elsabe Rockman. We've got our cooperative partner, Mr. Bonganim Simang from Afasa. We've got Mr. Quinton Naidu. Did I have it right?
AGM Tim.
Yeah, you have it right.
My apologies for that. Yeah, there's been a change. I apologize for that. Mr. Mtembu, AJ Mtembu, I've got it. We have Mr. Quinton Naidu. I apologize for the disturbance before your announcement, but nonetheless, we've got Mr. Quinton Naidu, who is Head of Socio-Economic Development for Kagiso Trust. And yeah, I think this is all that we have. Before we get to the topic of a discussion, I'd just like to cover some of the topics that we're going to be talking about today. We've got 5 topics of discussion. We have access to finance, as well as learned tenure. We've got capacity building, training, innovation, and market integration. And lastly, we're going to have a chat on policy, paying specific reference to Article 36, Honourable Minister. Before we proceed, I'd like to create a setting for this dialogue. I'd like to begin by inviting our chair, Jeremiah, to briefly explain to us our growth philosophy. I refer to the PGP philosophy in transitioning our farmers from whether it be subsistence all the way to new era. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Chairperson. Greetings to our Honorable Minister John Steenhuisen and our MECs that is here, and to our audience. Good afternoon. As you have just said, I must just give an overview of what PGP is all about. What are we trying to achieve? Within PGP structures, as a farmer development wing of Grain South Africa, we are trying to ensure that we've got a program that works, that will take our farmers to the next level, which will be taking a smallholder farmer and make him a fully fledged commercial farmer. How do we do that? I'll just give you a very brief pillars, categories that we have within PGP. We've got subsistence farmer, which plant 0 to 10 hectares. We've got a smallholder farmer that produces 0 to 50 hectares. We've got a potential new era farmer that gives 250 tons. And we've got a new era commercial farmers that are giving 250 tons and above. The sky is the limit. What are we trying to do with these 4 pillars? We've got the these farmers that graduate within the category where they are. We are having private partners that we are working with, the likes of Kagiso here, Kagiso Trust, the likes of Bayer, who partnered with us, PGP, to ensure that these categories that we have become a success. Those 4 categories, what is happening on the subsistence farmer, the one that plants 0 to 10 hectares, we match that person with the funding that matches that capacity. Then we move to the person who's a smallholder farmer. We match that person with the funder that matches the 0 to 50 hectares. Potential new era, we match that farmer with the funder, so on and so on. So on those categories, now what we want to achieve, we want to ensure that we take a smallholder farmer and we make that person a fully fledged commercial farmer. So we decided to say across the country, across all our provinces, because PGP got a footprint in all the provinces. So we're taking 5 in each province, and it's going to be our pilot to ensure that these things that we're talking about are achievable. We want to put those 5 farmers into a system that we, as we are collaborating with our partners, those 4 categories that I've just mentioned, we ensure that in a 5-year plan, we make sure that those people that we put 5 per province, they become a fully fledged commercial farmers. It's going to happen because we got professional economists, we got mentors, we got coordinators across the country that grab the hands of all our pillars that I've just mentioned to ensure that this thing becomes a success. I know we are having our Honorable Minister here and our MECs and our audience and our farmers that are here in different categories that I've just mentioned. We are also inviting government on their programs to come and ensure that we make this thing a success. We are also working with AFASA, James Tembo as a president. We collaborated. He's bringing his farmers to us. We just plug in. We don't want to design a new thing. If system is working, just plug in. So that is why we collaborated with AFASA, and we want to ensure that in the next 5 years, we are having fully fledged commercial farmers. And in collaboration with the department, as we got an MOU with the various departments and our MECs also from the Free State and other MECs across the country, we have met, we have discussed the program. That's what we want to achieve. I think as the chairperson has just mentioned, we're going to discuss those issues in detail just now, but we need to plug in, let's put those resources together and ensure that we deliver those farmers, those fully fresh commercial farmers in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Chair, for that response. You made mention to stakeholders. I'd like to maybe say recognize Bayer for being a very long-standing partner, assisting PGP farmers with their efforts. Pierre, I've tried that.
Yes, very well.
Yeah. Can you please explain to us what your value proposition has been or is for our farmers?
Right, yes. I think at Bayer we live by a slogan that says health for all and hunger for none, and that obviously speaks to the different divisions that we have in the company. From my side and from where I work in the crop science division, this is obviously a very important place for us to get involved. So what we do is we make a substantial financial contribution to PGP, which allows and I think which enables in a big way to have these coordinators in the field, 7 officers in total, if I'm not mistaken, Jeremiah, and from there, we know that the resources we put in is going to the right place. What I'm referring to here is, I mean, if we go and look at the reporting over the last couple of years, which is, I think, one of the strong points of PGP, is that they know exactly what's going on amongst each of those coordinators. They categorize the farmers that are involved, with every coordinator, according to the lines that Jeremiah has referred to now, so small, whether they are subsistence, smallholder, new era, etc. In total, through the PGP program, in excess of 18,000 farmers are being serviced, representing more than 130,000 hectares, and that's significant. And for us, I think this partnership, again, the fact that it's so well structured, and that we know that the resources we put in, PGP has got the expertise, the knowledge, they organize study groups, they organize knowledge transfer, which is so critically important in this whole process to ensure sustainability. So from our side, that is why for us this is a very important project, and we are very proud to be associated with it and to see that result. If we attend the day of celebration, you were referring to each category and how people graduate. It's incredible to see. I think when it started a couple of years ago, I guess I wasn't involved then, but I guess we started with a 200-ton club, and as you mentioned, the sky's the limit. You sit there and you just see, this speaks of success, of farmers that have become truly commercial and that are now producing food, helping our country produce food in a sustainable way.
Yeah, look, we really treasure the relationship that we have with Bayer, and it's most meaningful to our farmers. And yeah, in saying that, I mean, we remain in awe. And as you've described, we've seen increases in tonnage year in, year out. So thank you for that. Moving over, perhaps maybe a question to Quentin there. You're very closely associated with finance models. Beyond just lack of capital, what is the primary structural barrier that you see in securing funding? Is it perhaps maybe lack of appetite, risk appetite as a funder, or lack of collateral? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tabani. It seems to be a popular question for Kagiso Trust. Perhaps I can start by saying I don't think funding has ever been the problem, or the availability of funding. I think it's always been an access issue. I'll speak from our own experience. The majority of applications we receive are not ready for funding. The applicants are not ready as individuals, as enterprises, or the ecosystems they belong to are not ready to be able to receive this funding. And in our conversations with our colleagues from the banks and from other similar like-minded organizations, this is a universal challenge. So what we've been thinking about, and I think this speaks to the legacy of Kagiso Trust. We spent 40 years building systems to ignite human capacity. We've been successful in education, and we bring those learnings into the field of agriculture. And we've realized that this issue of readiness needs to be looked at. What is readiness? It's not just bookkeeping. It's not just audited financials. There's enterprise, there's human readiness, there's an ecosystem of partners around you that need to be ready. So I don't think that funding is the issue. I don't think that there's a lack of potential for economic growth in agriculture. What I think is that there are uncoordinated delivery mechanisms to bring people into a pathway and then along that pathway to sustainability. So at Kagiso Trust, we work along a framework of what we call influence, build, and growth. And we have identified different areas along that framework where we invest. Readiness is a big part in that. We're pleased to see the success. We have some excellent implementing partners, many of the colleagues on the stage we work with. And so we will continue to invest for the next 40 years as Kagiso Trust in this space. We cannot do it alone. It should not be for us to do alone. And we're looking forward to collaborating with many others like PGP to continue to invest and bring some change and growth into the sector.
Yeah. Follow-up question. I'm not too sure whether I should direct it at the chair or perhaps Mr. Mthembu. On what you've just said, access to funding is not really a problem. Are you saying it's the farmer readiness that is a challenge? I would like maybe a response from Mr. Mthembu, and very, very briefly, and perhaps our chair, maybe just to as a response, finance is not the problem. However, farmer readiness is a challenge. What is PGP doing in addressing that? And perhaps maybe Mr. Mtembu, you can share, where possible, what FASA is doing to address that challenge. Should we start with you?
Okay. Well, it's a very interesting observation from Kagiso to say the finance is not a problem. Wow. I'm looking at myself. Am I in South Africa here? What is this guy talking about? Access to finance is a major problem. But another major problem that we faced with, we only get to know the difficulties when we are being rejected. There's never been a coordinated effort to make sure that people need to have certain things before they can get the finance. And another problem that we faced with is we don't even get the response why my application was not successful. In fact, you even have to call for you to be told that unfortunately it did not work through. I think where we can improve, firstly, we don't have to wait until somebody applies and on to find that he did not meet the criteria. I think we need to have some road shows, especially with the Land Bank and all other institutions, so that we know what is it that you require. Once we know what you require, we'll then be able to align ourselves accordingly so that we are able to tap into that which is available. I think you've got a point if you say there's a misalignment. And the thinking that we call it in English prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. The assumption that people know because they are farmers how to access to funding, it's a challenge on its own.
Mistake, yeah.
Something that needs to be drilled in and see how best we can collaborate to make sure that we cover that area.
Thank you, Mr. Mtembu. I'm noticing that time is really against us. I mean, if this is correct, we've got less than 30 minutes, and it feels like as if we've just started. Chair, you're going to have to forgive me here. I'm going to have to skip you and head over to our minister. This is quite a controversial, perhaps let's say discussion or a question. Minister, and as well as yourself, MEC, we've got the farmers, as you can hear. We've got the land. However, what we don't have is an asset base. So a question to you, Honourable Minister and MEC. What is a practical path to leverage state land leases into bankable assets so as to unlock the private sector funding?
Well, it's not such a controversial question to ask you because I'm on the record on this
I'm
already.
happy to hear that.
I'm on the record already as saying that leases are not bankable, or certainly the leases currently conceived are not bankable. A 30-year lease is not a bankable asset. And it's an issue I've raised in the Cabinet Lekgotla and with my colleague, Minister Nyonso. We need to transfer those leases into land ownership. There's no use the state being a land lessee, a lessor, when there are farmers on those properties that have been farming for 10, 15 years and doing it successfully. So where you have farmers that are on state leased land that are farming successfully, we should be giving those title deeds over to those farmers. They've earned their stripes. What that then does is give them an asset that they can approach a financial institution with. And it also gives them a reason to invest more in those properties because they will be owned by them, but also they will then be able to leave a legacy for their children and their successors in title that they would have built up. One of the most devastating effects of apartheid was robbing particularly black South Africans of an asset base and a property class through the Group Areas Act and various other interventions. And I think what there needs to be is an active redress of that. And the quickest and shortest distance between 2 points is for the state to give those leases. We've bought the land, it's been paid for, let's give it over now to them. I also want to say I don't necessarily think that either of President Mtembu or the Kagiso Trust are wrong. I don't think it's an either or, I think it's an and. I think there are barriers to finance, particularly in the current conception, that make it difficult for people to access land. Even progressive lending institutions like the Land Bank have thresholds and some regulations that make it difficult. One of the ones that farmers complain to me all the time is that you're required to give up your job, your full-time employment, while you're setting up your business. Now, for many, that they need the capital that they're earning from their salary to help sustain them and grow their business.
Right.
And essentially, you're cutting them off at the legs with that. And similarly, I do think, I mean, and we receive them on a daily basis, thousands upon thousands of projects, and we have to assess them as decision makers. Of course, I'd love to be able to have money to give everybody everything that they want, but with the budget constraints I have, we have to choose those projects that are viable, sustainable, and profitable, and ones that you can conceivably see there's a likelihood of success, so that the department doesn't have to come back every year and give the same inputs, the same assistance to the same people every year, but we should be building up projects that are bankable, sustainable, viable, and profitable, so we can get those farmers on their feet, get them farming, and then move on and assist more people. What we can't be doing every year is coming back and into projects and having to pour huge amounts of money into them because they're in the wrong place, as it was a dairy in the Eastern Cape, or there's no bankable business plan in that, or there's no market linkage. So these, I think, are some of the fundamental barriers. Obviously, the land bank is an area of contention. It's a patient that got taken out of agriculture to go to hospital. The patient's better now, but hasn't been released from hospital yet. So there's a debate going on about where the land bank should be located. Because if one looks at the build-up of South Africa's agriculture sector, our formal agricultural sector and our historic agricultural sector, it was built on the back of institutions like the Agricultural Credit Board that gave preferential patient capital to the agricultural sector. And unless we get patient capital that understands the farming dynamic, we might as well just be relying on commercial institutions here. If you have the same barriers and the same criteria as you do with a commercial bank, as you have with what should be a progressive lending institution, I don't think we're bridging that gap that's required in South Africa. And so I do think we do need to spend some time as government reconceiving what is the purpose of the land bank and how do we make it more fit for purpose to be able to address this current crisis that we have. There's no shortage of money, as you've said. There's no shortage of banks, as you've said. What I think we're lacking is the patient capital, because it's not like going and applying for financing for a spaza shop where from day one you've got stock, you're selling it, you're getting an income. Agriculture has high input costs, high entry costs, and it then requires a period of time before that operation is going to start reaping a profit. And I don't think that patience currently exists in the commercial environment, and I think that's where progressive lending institutions like the Land Bank should be stepping in and playing that role. Obviously managing risk, but understanding that there are some risks that are worth taking, particularly when it comes to agriculture.
Minister, you're talking the right language. This is not a but, right? So I would like to put some time frames in what you say. I know it might not be within your ambit, the discussion of title deeds, but we've had similar discussions before. You agree that title deeds are necessary, but where are these title deeds? Can we get to a timeline? Can I get a commitment from you that you perhaps going to have a sit-down with Minister Nyonzo and put some timelines to this? Can we agree on that?
Well,
can the farmers out here,
absolutely, but it's difficult.
Minister, can the farmers out here take you to account? Can you go on record and tell the farmers, the Grain SA farmers, that you are going to be accountable? You are going to put a time frame into these title deeds.
But you see, that's a dangerous thing to do.
But we're not going anywhere.
That's a dangerous thing to do because
Yeah.
you're asking me to do something that, to commit to something that I don't have the leverage over. But what I can commit to doing is to continue to work with Minister Nyonso. And he is handing out title deeds. There are title deeds being handed out. He has got a program where he's going around the country. Obviously, it needs to be sped up. There obviously are practical delays through things like the deeds office and the like that do drag these processes. But what I can give the commitment to every farmer in this room is that they will have no louder voice around the cabinet table, in the cabinet legotes, with the president and with Minister Nyonso, to be able to do just precisely this. We've also had the advent now of the appointment of the Agriculture and Land Envoy, Wandile Sihlobo. I think we're all familiar with his viewpoint on this as country of two agricultures. And he's been a huge asset now, I think, to us to strengthen our arm about what needs to be done. I don't understand what the reluctance would be for government to hand over this land. I think that being a landlord is a difficult job. And I think that we do need to look at those projects where people have made a success of it. Now, obviously, there's people who have received land that are not farmers. They don't have the experience. And we're essentially wasting land there that we could be giving to an agricultural college graduate or the like who could make a success of it. So I'm not saying there needs to be a blanket approach that everyone who's received land, but I certainly think we can identify those who've been leasing land and have made a successful go of it. The industry bodies know who these people are because they've often been involved in their success. I think they're easy to pinpoint, and that for me is the low-hanging fruit where we start. Yeah. So the time frame is it's continuously ongoing. It's something I raise at every single meeting. It's something I've raised with the Black Business Forum and getting them to come on board and help us pressure government. But I think we are starting to see it starting to bear fruit. Title deeds are being handed over, but it needs to be done at a much faster pace.
Yeah. Chair here is going to perhaps maybe put to your colleague and maybe like demand a bit of time frames. I want to go back to time frames because they're important to us as farmers, right? So I just want to mention that our chair there is going to be sending forward names of farmers
Good.
that
Grateful to receive.
yes, that should be receiving those title deeds, and hopefully it's not going to take.
Well, you may know that in my in a previous life, I fought very hard in the courts for Mr. David Rakhatse to be able to be given the land that he was due. He was also promised repeatedly. So I think that Rakhatse case has been a groundbreaking case and makes the point very clearly that this is it. So you send us the list, I'll be happy to go into bat for them.
That's a win for me. Moving on, we are very disadvantaged because of time.
Actually,
so
I think I should come in here at that point.
Okay, sure.
What you're not taking into account is that there was a huge delay in resolving the issue of title deeds because of National Treasury and how do you dispose of public land. And it took a significant period of time to resolve that. But the process, it seems, is back on track. We had in February a session with the minister in Bethlehem where title deeds were handed over. That was the first part of it. Then there was a backup list of probably 50, 60 names that's in queue, but like the minister indicates, there's this problem, that problem, deeds office, technicalities. But the process seems the major hurdle of the disposal of public land has been resolved. There's one question you are not asking, and that's a discussion I would want the minister to rather have, and that is with the Minister of Kokta. And that is, why is our commonages in the state that they are in? Our farmers are stuck in commonages. They can't move out because of the land acquisition processes. What is the link between our commonages and land acquisition? We have multiple cases where land is advertised, people get called in to be interviewed, and then after a significant period of time, the land is re-advertised. The same problem that you are mentioning. You are not given reasons, like the Land Bank would not say, no, you are not successful because of this, that, and the other. You are presuming that our farmers have land. That is a wrong presumption, or an incomplete presumption, at the very least. We need to correct the access to land for the farmers without access. We need to link the commonage farmers who have, some of them have been there for 15, 20 years, unable to graduate onto their own farm, meaning they are blocking the youth from getting onto commonages. So it's a spiral and a constant contestation for space on commonages. Our commonages biosecurity practices are just impossible. You have anything from a cow to a chicken to a goat to a rabbit. And everyone needs to make a living, and a dog and a cat and a donkey as well. So it's a more fundamental question that we need to begin to address. And then I was here last year with the PGP award ceremony. and one of your young farmers, Jabu Machinini from Bethlehem. I went back, he won the New Era Potential Farmer, what. I asked, guys, who's this farmer? No, we've never heard from him. Never heard of him. We never funded him before. If it was not for the PGP program, we would not have been able to pick him up. But we've picked him up now and brought him into the system. So there's too many developmental programs, but we are not necessarily talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that has to improve.
Thank you so much. As I said, time is against us, and what I get from the feedback that I'm having is that you are pro title deeds, and this is what I needed to hear. So thank you. I'm pretty sure farmers are all too happy to hear about that. So moving to the next discussion. Unfortunately, we're going to have to speed things up because of time. Next discussion is capacity building. I'm going to go straight forward and ask Mr. Mthembu what he thinks is the single biggest gap in business management. What I mean by that is I'm referring to financial literacy. I'm referring to capacity building for our farmers, training, etc. What do you think is the single biggest gap in that scenario?
Maybe let me start by congratulating PGP for the program that they are doing. Because that's one program that I realized that it was coming up with results. And as a result, that's why as a FASA we decided to collaborate with that. Because we've got a lot of training institution and training people, but you can't see the results because the training is disintegrated. Even those who are training, their interest is not to impart the knowledge, but to get the resources for training purposes. And that is why after people have been trained, still you don't see the difference. Because education is manifested through behavioral change. When somebody has been educated, you can only see it through the change of behavior. So if the behavior remained the same, it means your training was not impactful.
True.
So I think what will be important is it's a collaboration. I think for the longest of time we've been working in silos, each one pushing from a different angle. So I think the first call for this is to make sure that the private sector, I think for the longest of time we've been trying to prove each other's case, that I'm better off without you, or you're better off without me, or I'm doing you a favor if I'm doing this. But we are within the one country. And I think it will be important that the takeaway from here is that meaningful collaboration, so that we make sure that the limited resources are utilized to have a greater impact. The training is indeed required, but what we've picked up, especially when there's a change of a farmer, for instance, from a white farmer to the black farmer, it's like there was an intended effort to make sure that that farmer fails. Because the information that will be given is not the same one that was making this farmer to succeed. And you wonder what happened. And I think it's about time, you said it when you started here, it's not the purpose and the point to keep on pointing at each other. The time has called for us now to collaborate with one another so that we make sure that the skills, the expertise, the passion is fused together so that at the end of the day you are able to go where we need to go. And that is why I'm saying again, the program that PGP is putting on board, it's meaningful, it's tangible, and it's something that is progressive. And that is why as a FASA we thought collaborating with that is going to make an impact to our farmers. Chair, you've spoken about 5 farmers. I told you, don't go on your own to get those farmers. Come to me. I've got the farmers. You've got the money from Bayer. We put those together, then everybody succeeds.
Bayer with the money. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you said it mouthful. We always say farming is not just, it's passion.
Yeah.
And farming needs a lot of resources. So that is why we collaborate, and we need the private partners, and we need government to come in and assist in the agenda that we are setting up now for the next 5 years. Reason I'm saying that a minimum commercial farmer spends about 10 million for planting. You go to assets. You need about 3 operations to happen. You need the one that prepare the land. You need the one that will do your spraying and planting. That assets complete, you are talking about 20 million. We need to leverage that
Excuse me, Chair.
with the assets that the chairperson
I
is
know,
talking about.
guys, we are very passionate in these discussions. I'm just afraid of time. I want to bring this conversation back to skills training, right? Can we perhaps have a comment from the long-standing stakeholder? How are you doing it? How are you providing the skills to our
Right.
farmers?
Yeah, I think
Perhaps maybe, GP, in your response, if you could also make mention of the innovation
Yes,
that
okay.
you have in the form of the app that you have.
so. As I mentioned before, we through capacity building, for us, partnering with PGP is a perfect solution because we enable them to have the coordinators in the field to drive this. So if it comes to innovation, I think there's two main thoughts about innovation for us. The one is the innovation in our products, like the seed and crop protection products that we bring to the market. For us, we make sure that the best technologies in terms of seed genetics, in terms of biotechnology, that we make available to commercial farmers, we also make available in smaller packs that are specific to the small scale and subsistence market, for instance. On top of that, when it comes to digital technology, we can talk about our field view platform. That's something that's designed for commercial farmers, but we've given access to the PGP coordinators, and they're busy mapping all the farmers that are related to an office. And that means that every 4 days or so they get interpreted satellite imagery that help to monitor what's going on those farms. And we'll keep on looking for other solutions in that digital space. And if we see that there's something that's can be of value to this specific sector, we'll definitely disseminate that through our partnership with PGP, with then training backing it to make sure that it's effectively used.
Yes. Briefly, is this adding to the profit margins for farmers? A short answer.
I would say yes, because it gives you the insights, it gives you pre-warning if something goes wrong. It helps to focus your efforts on the land to make sure that you optimize your yields.
Thank you for that response. I want to move to the next topic. Once again, I'm so bothered by time. This is a question for you, MEC. We have the farmers, and some of them are pretty good. However, there's a challenge of roads, bad roads. There's a challenge of storage in the form of silos. So a farmer can be productive, however, his produce is just going to remain at the farm gate. What plans do you have in your province to ensure that farmers are assisted with regards to storage facilities and better roads? We also see this in the high cost of our maize. We're currently sitting with an oversurplus and a slightly higher price. And as a result of that, I mean, the roads do add to that, so as lack of storage. So any plans in your province?
Although we have the rural development mandate as part of our portfolio, we are reliant on other sister departments, whether it's the Provincial Department of Roads Transport, in some instances SANRAL, to implement road maintenance or to construct new roads. Of course, there is funding challenges all over, but more and more we are lobbying louder to say we need to protect our agricultural economic roots. We cannot have the situation where, for example, say for example Beefmaster or Westgrow, which is on the border of Christiana and Herzogsville. They cannot buy from Herzogsville because they can't reach Herzogsville. Now just the little extra distance they must travel to get onto proper roads, they can quantify to the cent what it costs them. And we are taking that information and feeding directly into the planning of roads and transport department, for example, to say, let us prioritize the economic rural roads which we need to directly benefit our agricultural sector. There just isn't enough money to go around to do everything simultaneously.
Yeah, sure.
The silos, another factor. Should we not be looking at a better way that our farmers has access to silos? Because whether the funding is there to run a fully new program to build new silos is it's a different discussion. So we have to find different ways of optimizing what we have, making better impact. And then of course many commodity organizations have programs where they will match, because our farmers is the lifeline of road maintenance almost. If it was not for our farmers, our rural roads would be in a much worse condition. And many of the organizations have a rand-to-rand matching basis, where if a farmer spends 500 rand, they will match with 500 rand. We need to look at how do we optimize and maximize those kind of programs. We also must learn examples from other provinces. I had a discussion with the KZN MEC for Agriculture. They, for example, have full yellow fleet as a department, which we don't have. It's something that needs us to see, do we invest, for example, in our own yellow fleet to begin to make a difference. If there's no road to a farm or an access road problem, they simply go in and do it.
Yeah. Sorry, if I may just add there, I really appreciate your response. I have a feeling that farmers are much more desperate. It's a matter of survival or not at this stage. So I do hear the challenges that you're presenting to us. However, it doesn't provide an answer to a farmer who's most probably not going to be able to send his produce to the market for the next 3 years. So we would like to perhaps maybe next time we meet ask a question and ask what are you doing? What have you done in the past 12 months? So we're really looking at solutions. Yes, we appreciate the problems are there. However, that doesn't do well for the farmer. Right, so I would like us to maybe talk possible solutions. This is what the farmers are looking for.
Can I come in with?
Sure.
So one of the things that was birthed, you may recall, of last year's NAMPO, was a joint partnership with Free State Roads and Transport, Agri-SA and the Department of Public Works. And Minister McPherson was here recently in the province to launch the first phase, which is the identification of those roads in the Free State where there's the greatest reliance on the agricultural community, and to look how Public Works could come to the party to assist in terms of helping to manage A, the contracts, and B, the construction of those roads. And that was something that was birthed quite clearly out of this NAMPO last year. Now, Minister McPherson will be here later in the week, and I'm sure he'll be able to take you through the progress. But I know that they did have a launch program here in the Free State a few weeks back, a month ago, where Agri-SA, Public Works, and the Free State Roads Department were present. So I think we're starting to see movement. The big constraint, I think, that MEC Rockman is, and it's a frustration I have as well, is that we have all of these things that impact on our departments, which the levers don't lie with us, and we have to go out and be lobbyists within. To Minister Gondongwana and to your Treasury, MEC, to start prioritising some of these. The ports are a big example. I mean, there's one thing us producing. Can we get to the markets that we need to for the value add? With the current port constraints, rural safety, all of these things impact on our two departments, but we have to go and be advocates for these things within our provincial cabinets and at a national cabinet level. It would be wonderful if we were given the levers of power and all of those things. I think MEC Rockman and I would have this country rocking and rolling when it came to agriculture. But we've got to work with the tools we have and in the constraints we have. But I can tell you, you've got no two big advocates for the agriculture sector around those tables where it matters.
Yeah, we really appreciate to hear that, Honourable Minister. There always seems to be a gap. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's either this one is not there and that one is there, and whoever's not here, sort of like, that's an scapegoat sort of way.
Well, we're here, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, but at the same time, so-and-so is not here, so therefore we can't really answer. But yes, we appreciate that at least you are supporting us on that. So I'm going to move very quickly. It's amazing, an hour has already gone. I want to get to perhaps maybe the last discussion on policy, specifically on Article 36.
Act 36.
Act 36, sorry about that. Yes, I'm going to just shoot straight. Mr. Mtembu and also yourself, Jeremiah. What challenges are you seeing from a farmer perspective in implementing Act 36? Yes.
Thanks so much. I think what is important for us, I'm going to just go straight to the point. The issue of remedies, the chemicals that we use. Some of the chemicals have been taken out of the list, and those chemicals we normally use, they are less expensive, and the ones that are left on the list, they are very expensive. As you can see now, the input cost, they are killing the farmers. The margin is very thin. So I think the farmers need to get an alternative to this, if it can be looked at, because it's a problem. The other thing is that we are ensuring that the storage capacity, the storage of those chemicals and the clothing is an issue that also need to be looked at, because some of the people, they need to be exposed and need some training in terms of how to handle chemicals. But the issue is those chemicals on the list that are taken off, we are left with very expensive remedies that we can use and apply for our planting of any crops.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. So compliance seems to be, if I can call it, a tax burden, an additional cost to the farmer who's really in need, more so at the back of these higher input costs. So the next question then, unfortunately, Minister, you're just having a lot of questions, right?
It's fine.
Yeah, so the next obvious question then would be, do you have any programs, perhaps, that could assist, especially your smallholder farmers, in acquiring PPEs and the likes?
We do have programs. I don't think they are extensive enough, but we've also, have to operate within the constraints of international treaties that we're part of. So we're part of the Rome Treaty, which means we've got to phase out highly hazardous pesticides by 2035, and we also are then subject to some domestic pressures. And I think Turbifos has been a very good example. Yes. Turbifos has been an effective and cheap remedy which has been used by farmers for many, many years. When we had these outbreaks of foodborne illnesses, etc., in Soweto, there was obviously a very emotional reaction, and a very strong move spearheaded by the health department to ban Turbifos, which we, after a cabinet decision, had to agree to. I tried to fight very hard for a phasing out period, but I didn't get my way in cabinet. And I think that you're right. I think that the problem is that the alternatives are expensive and not there. What can we do to deal with that? And I think that Bayer and them have to go through the programs of Act 36. What can we do? We can make it easier and cheaper for the application process to take place, and that is why during the course of last year we've moved the one part of the application system into an online application process that's handled electronically. The second bottleneck has been getting their products to market efficiently and effectively, and that's been at the assessment phase of the various remedies. I've in the last 2 months hired 38 technicians, scientific technicians, to now be able to assess those, to be able to speed up that process and get rid of the backlog. So it's quicker, more efficient, and easier for them to bring products to the market. What we're also exploring now is creating a green channel for biologicals. So where you have environmentally friendly alternatives, where you have less damaging products, that we do have a green channel to get them to market quicker, so that we can lower the cost of them and incentivize people to be moving towards using those biologicals. The whole system will go, all aspects of it will go online during the course of this year. The one section of it, and all new applications are done. These technicians have been brought in now to deal with the backlog that exists currently, and they've been appointed. I signed off the appointment letters. So it's about speeding up the process, and then it's also about making sure that we continue to guarantee the IP for big production companies, so that they are incentivized to be able to bring their products here into South Africa.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Watch. Yes, I have. It's been terrible, isn't it? GP, lastly from you, what can you add to this? How can we lower this cost of these new chemicals? And can you also answer to whether you provide any technical training for applying of these pesticides?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one quickly. I did bring a colleague that knows more about policy, but let me briefly answer to say that we are bound by the regulations that are put in place. And as a company, we feel very strongly, and that's our global stance, we cannot break away from the policy. So that would be guiding us. It's very good to hear that there are plans in place to speed up the process of getting new products regulated or deregulated so that we can use them in the market. I think that's a major stumbling block for us. And I think if that would be the first step. And then also, I think through the channels that we discussed earlier, both formal in our commercial sector, but definitely through PGP in the small scale sector, we'll keep on providing training and best practices to ensure, again, sustainability and that health factor that I spoke about in the beginning as well.
Yeah. Gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate your time. Yeah, this is a really a passionate discussion, and
We needed another hour.
Yeah, an hour has gone already.
We need another
Of course
hour.
we do. Yes, yes, of course we do.
And we haven't asked the audience some questions.
I don't think there's even going to be time to get a comment from the audience because of time, or is there?
My name is Kenny Hunze. Okay, my name is Kenny Hunze. I'm listening with interest with all the panelists have said, and it's very motivating to hear that. But I'm sitting here and asking myself, you guys are talking past each other. Where is the MEC of the Northwest? Why is the MEC of the Northwest not sitting in that panel? And the reason I'm raising up this point is that the MEC of the Northwest, we went to him with a proposal of crop massification within Nakamudiri Mulema district municipality. Where is the maize triangle? And with that presentation, we have your Springbok pan silos, you have your Vryhof silos, you have your Kruipan silos. About 2 weeks ago, IDC invested money into the Springbok pan silos to work on the crop massification project in terms of that maize triangle of Nakamudiri Mulema. And it will be great for the MEC to sit there so that he shares what model is he putting in place so that it can work. And then, also again, I will want us to have a fair invitation, even when we go to PGP awards and all that. Yes, Bothaville is in the Free State, but all the commercial farmers, according to the program of the PGPs, are coming from Region 28, our region in the Northwest. Why is our MEC not invited to all these events? Why is he segregated out of all this? But the farmers are coming there. I would really appreciate if the Department of Northwest Agriculture and Region 28 can work hand in hand so that at least everybody knows. Our CEO is there, and I will appreciate if these breakages can be matched so that we don't have this that is happening, because the department is coming up with good models in terms of crop massification. We have farmers that are planting about 800,000 hectares that have graduated long time ago out of the program of the PGPs here within the Region 28. And that is a success story that must be told, because we're not anymore on the small scale or on the level there. We have now Region 28, and you guys are not talking about it. We have Bax Mokhane. He produced 2,000 tons of the last season. That is something that we need to acknowledge, that this program of PGP works. We have success stories that we can tell. Botani Shabalala, and then here is our current chairman behind me, Setlaba Rapoto. They have all done. All these are the winners coming from Region 28. But our MEC is segregated out of all these success stories. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Farmer. I think we have a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, we're 8 minutes over our time limit. We're going to have to make do a CEO. Perhaps maybe in our next engagement, can we allocate more time? I mean, as I said, these are passionate discussions, and an hour went so quickly. I'll leave it to you to make sure that on our next, perhaps maybe engagement later on in the year, you at least set aside, how long, Minister?
2 hours.
2 hours, yes. 2 hours, 2 hours it is. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, you've been a great pleasure to be part of the panelist. I thank the audience. You've been a great audience. Thank you for your feedback. We do have the local MEC, however, and we thought that was fitting, but I do hear what you're saying. In saying so, we bring this to a close. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well,